Worldwide, the financial sector is recognized as a facilitator of economic growth and development. Zambia has over the past years made considerable efforts to develop strategies to improve the operational and legal environment of the financial sector. In recognizing this important role, Zambia embarked on the development of the National Financial Sector Development Policy and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy in order to grow and transform the financial sector. The policy and strategy came after Zambia's first and second Financial Sector Development Plans, FSDPs, which ran into two successive 5-year cycles, from 2004 to 2009 and from 2010 to 2015. With support from the World Bank, the Honorable Minister of Finance launched the National Financial Sector Development Policy and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy on the 8th of November 2017, where notable dignitaries were present. Among them, Secretary to the Treasury, Mr. Fredson Nyamba, Bank of Zambia Governor, Dr. Denny Kalyalia, World Bank Country Director Paul Naumba and World Bank Country Manager Ina Maureen Ruthenberg, among others. The successful implementation of the policy and the strategy will achieve an overall increase in financial inclusion, formal and informal, from 59% to 80% by 2022. Greater availability of affordable financing for SMEs, smallholder farmers and agricultural entities, and see an increase in the percentage of adults with high financial product awareness levels from 36 to 70% by 2022. But the general public has mixed views over the financial inclusion and the greater availability of affordable financing, especially for SMEs.
Chilimba chili mushe chifukwa chakuti ngauponya chilimba uzakafola zakachita muna vanzeru mu banki ongazika ndrama mu banki badzi umankhala kwandotita ufudronga wa buloka manje chilimba ngauponya nangu wa buloka sungatenge ufudroga ndo kuodele iyayi paka ikafike day yako yofola.
When we take our money to the bank, sometimes you find that your source of income is low. It's somewhere you don't balance up the equation. So you find that the moment you are slow in taking your money to the bank, it's the more they deduct some money. So at the time you find some money to go back to the bank to go and diffuse some money, you find that your account maybe is being dormanted. And we as drivers and my fellow conductors, we discovered to say that a chilimba is more valuable than us taking money to the bank.
Wakongola 10,000 the loan. Kuda loan 10,000 bala kupea limbi 85. 85 them they are calculating that loan using the original amount 10,000. Na bafunya mu charges yabo shanshani. So these finances yo mlandi ama financials I think the best ways we put them on conditions to favor the people, because there's no one who can go and borrow money at the end of the day. Instead they want to prosper aleru samo takwa insurance ngabakuivira fyobe them they want the money yapya market them they want the money bakutobera kunganda them they want the money,
while others expressed ignorance on the benefits of insurance matters.
Akatipunzise na vamene vilimo mu insurance kuchita business ati vamene vipeze kama vabwino na voipa na maruzi au tiazivi na ma problems akatipeza vaenekera kutipunzisa tizibo kapezeka mu problem yaso then olo muzako amene saziba kunyumba kuja kwa mene timaendolo vamene tipezeka nawo mu market tifunika tabauza ta ina nachita insurance kuso business yanga na iwonga chiteso in case of problem atina vanzatu vakazipunzira olo vilimba vamene timachita venangu sivaziba.
On government attaining the project by 2022, others feel it is not attainable.
First, I want to put a disclaimer that I don't think it will be possible to achieve that by 2021 or 2022. And these are simply because of the literacy levels that we have are extremely law. We need a robust economy that must be able to be seen. If we had a federal way of government where we know every province has activities, economic activities that are known and are viable, then it will be possible for us to be able to reach there. For now, it's almost inconceivable for rural communities to be able to appreciate this aspect of financial inclusion. And I think where we need to be able to begin to do, which we must also play a part, is an aspect to be able to educate people, an aspect to be able to show transparency in the way we are able to do things, and an aspect to show that people will be able to appreciate the activities that government are doing, so that once they are able to appreciate these ones, all people will be able to come on board. And the aspect to be able to go cashless will be able to remove a lot of things. It will remove aspects of corruption. It will remove aspects of diverting resources. It will remove all these kind of things that are impediment to growing this economy.
Deep and inclusive financial sector is generally associated with financial sector inefficiencies that affect all sectors of the economy. The policy aims at having a well-developed and inclusive financial system that supports efficient resource mobilization and investment for sustainable economic development. The World Bank Country Director Paul Naumba described the launch as an important milestone for Zambia. Mr. Naumba noted that Zambia, as a country, has made extensive efforts in developing its financial sector, adding that since 2004, the country has successfully implemented 2 consecutive financial development plans.
Financial inclusion is among the World Bank Group top priorities. This was further stressed by our president of the World Bank in 2014 when he announced that we should achieve universal financial access globally by 2020. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, I am pleased to note that Zambia as a country has made extensive efforts in developing its financial sector. Since 2004, Zambia has successfully implemented 2 consecutive financial sector development plans. The Vision Zambia 2030 and the 7th National Development Plan includes several references to developing an inclusive financial sector. In fact, Zambia has made remarkable progress in financial inclusion.
The policy expresses the commitment of the Government Republic of Zambia to foster the development of the financial sector through the provision of the strategic guidance and oversight.
The 2 documents that we produced, the National Financial Sector Development Policy and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, which will run from 2017 to 2022, are very critical documents for the country. And the process was more consultative. Firstly, initially we had to set up a team that we called a drafting team, which was composed of key stakeholders. These included stakeholders from the financial sector, financial regulators, and also we included other institutions that were key in terms of financial inclusion. So it was a whole comprehensive kind of team. And after putting up the draft, we made sure that this should not be a government document. We wanted to get a buy-in by everyone so that everyone has an input. So in March 2017, we had to call for a national consultative meeting, which made sure that all the participants in the financial sector, both the regulators, the players, and also the clients. So we made sure that everyone had an input into it and came up with a document, the 2 documents, which we forwarded to Cabinet Office for approval. And the documents were approved in August by Cabinet and finally launched in November.
PS in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Mukuli Chikuba, sheds more light on the implementation process.
Objectives of the financial sector policy and the financial sector inclusion strategy are quite far-reaching. We are trying to increase reach in terms of financial inclusion from the current 59% to 80%. And in so doing, there are key areas that we are looking at. And one of the areas is, one, affordability, so that we get most of our citizens getting into affording some of the financial sector products that are offered by the different players in the economy. The second one is around coverage. How do we cover as much as we can, particularly those people that have never had access to financial services. The other important one is at what cost do we deliver that? And tied to that is the issue of then how do we ensure that we have the outreach in terms of the capital infrastructure to reach our people. And in there, obviously, then there's quite a number of interventions we need to do. So the implementation has started in earnest. We have our regulators, namely the PIA, the Bank of Zambia, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that have formed specific focal point offices within their institutions to implement all the initiatives that are in the strategy around their areas of expertise. And so that has started. They've designated officers. We have a national implementation committee that has been set up to oversee the implementation of the strategy, and they meet quite often because some of the strategies have to be implemented in liaison with the different players within the financial sector. So the implementation has started quite well, and we think that our targets are well set for us to achieve by the year 2022.
The policy aims at having a well-developed, competitive and inclusive financial system that supports efficient resource mobilization and access to financial services and products for all.
Financial sector development policy was launched on 18th November 2017. This is coming from a backdrop where initially we had the financial sector development plans, which ran from 2004 to 2015. It's against this background that the government developed the financial sector development policy and also the financial sector inclusion strategy. What is embedded in there is that it provides a framework to give strategic guidance with regard to developing a stable and resilient, competitive and all-inclusive financial sector, so that this can contribute to wealth creation and also economic growth.
The financial sector in Zambia is moderately developed and dominated by the banking subsector. The financial sector, together with other users of financial and non-financial products and services, make up the financial sector ecosystem, which is critical for contributing to the attainment of sustainable economic development and ultimately poverty reduction.
All the various stakeholders have got roles to play. Firstly, if you look at government, they are supposed to provide the policy framework, which has been done, and also the implementation strategy. When it comes to the private sector, I think they also have a role to play to ensure that there's fairness and competition in the sector. And at the end of the day, they are able to provide a commodity which will inspire people to actually take part in the financial sector in a more formalized manner. The other stakeholders is to ensure that the platform of engagement is clear. So you have the civil society as well as other groups also participating to ensure that at the end of the day we have financial inclusion in this country.
The Ministry of Finance is at the helm of the implementation of the Financial Inclusion Strategy governance structure. The government, through the Ministry of Finance, shall ensure development of strong partnerships with various stakeholders such as financial sector regulators, which includes The Bank of Zambia is responsible for regulating and supervising banks and non-bank financial institutions, thereby creating an enabling environment and promotes competitive behavior and the development of accessible, affordable, and quality innovations, products, and services.
The approach to how we transform the financial ecosystem so that it responds to the need to increase the number of people that are active in the financial sector is built around a number of factors. The first factor is that we need to spread the access delivery channels. We look at the delivery channels themselves and see how we can expand those channels. And as I said, with the technology that we have right now, we've seen an expansion moving away basically from the use of what we have referred to as the brick and mortar, which is the banks that you see when you go out, you find a branch. But now you can transact using the mobile phone, which has become a very significant instrument in achieving that. You can now achieve this through point-of-sale terminals. You can achieve it through ATMs and so on. So that is one area. The second area is now leveraging on the technology itself to be able to widen the range of products that can be achieved in the market. And then the other component of that is to expand the services to the rural areas, because when you look at the statistics in terms of financial inclusion, you find that the areas or the parts of the country with the largest numbers of people who are outside the financial system, you find that they are basically in the rural areas. And then lastly, it is really to enhance consumer protection. And consumer protection is important because consumer protection is what gives confidence to people whether or not they want to use these products and services.
In line with its mandate, the Competition and Consumer Protection, it shall be responsible for consumer protection, competition, and stability. In collaboration with financial regulators, the CCPC shall work to improve comparable disclosure practices of financial service providers and improve awareness of, access to, and efficiency of dispute resolution mechanism for financial consumers.
The best that we do is to ensure that we conduct some capacity building in the market players. For instance, these players in the insurance sector, there's a lot happening right now. I think going by the number of complaints that we receive, you can see that most consumers are not comfortable accessing these services. But what we do conduct workshops in order to enlighten the service providers that there's a need for them to build confidence in the consumers, because mostly the complaints that we receive almost on a daily basis has to do with a failure to pay at maturity. For instance, if I signed up for a policy and say 5 years later I'm supposed to get the money upon maturity, it being the banking sector, even there we do receive complaints of failed transactions on the ATM. If a consumer goes trying to get money from the ATM, then the transaction is declined, but then what follows is the monies will be deducted from the account.
The success of every vital project, such as this one, requires resource mobilization of both financial and technical.
So resource mobilization is a big area, of course. One, in terms of increasing the capacity of the regulators to reach out, like I mentioned, to the people. They will need resources. We do need resources to ensure that the infrastructure that we're using to reach out to the people is reaching the intended people. There are issues around capacity within the regulators that needs to be financed. So what we have done is we have started good work working with the World Bank to set up a fund that we are going to use for implementation of the strategy. And within the fund, one, we are trying to put in, of course, government money, as it were, as a key responsibility. And each of the institutions that I have mentioned, the Securities and Exchange, the PIA, the Bank of Zambia, and even the Ministry of Finance, have budgets that have been set up for 2018 to meet part of this cost. Then working with the World Bank, we have put up a framework where the World Bank will attract other cooperating partners in form of grants for us to use for the outreach under the project.
As resource mobilization will enhance the lives of the Zambian citizens through increased access to and usage of a broad range of quality and affordable financial products and services. In line with its mandate, the Securities and Exchange Commission shall be responsible for development of a regulatory framework for the capital markets that promotes business and ensure that investors, both local and foreign, are protected. The role of the Pensions and Insurance Authority shall be in line with its mandate, which is to regulate and supervise the conduct of pension schemes and insurance industry in order to protect the interest of scheme members and policyholders. It shall promote diversification and growth of insurance products and educate the public on the importance of insurance and the products available. Government recognizes the need for the comprehensive policy and strategy to accelerate progress towards inclusive, stable and competitive financial sector development in Zambia. The purpose of the policy and the strategy is to achieve universal access and usage of a broad range of quality and affordable financial services that meet the needs of both individuals and enterprise. Therefore, in order for the country to successfully achieve an overall increase in financial inclusion from 59% to 80%, it entails that irrespective of social or economic status, gender, or level of education, we want to ensure that every segment of Zambian society has access to basic financial service. To this influence, all stakeholders are urged to come to the table of inclusion if the 80% vision by 2022 is to become a reality.